There's been a lot of renewed attention on the Republican Trump electors, including some new reporting that your office is investigating at the state level. Can you confirm that?
So first, I think that anybody who committed a crime to try to overturn the results of the election should be held accountable. Now, at the Department of Justice, we don't generally confirm or deny the existence of ongoing investigations, and we're following that approach here as well.
Why in this case?
Well, because we, in any case, when we're potentially investigating, we want to make sure that we're protecting the rights of all involved, and we also don't want to do anything that might impact the way an investigation would unfold if there is one.
In recent days, both CNN and the Washington Post have reported a state investigation is now underway here in Wisconsin, targeting the 10 Republican electors who met privately in December 2020. The new pictures from a recent civil court settlement, the group filing false paperwork in what is now accused to be a larger plot by the Trump campaign to overturn the results of the 2020 election. And a potential new key witness, Kenneth Chesbro, a Wisconsin native and former Trump attorney who pled guilty in Georgia and is now reportedly helping investigators in multiple states, including Wisconsin.
As an office, we're not going to confirm or deny the existence of any investigation.
What does held accountable look like to you?
Well, accountability means different things in different contexts. You know, putting aside our office, certainly there is the federal prosecution of Donald Trump happening under Jack Smith's leadership. There's also a case in Georgia. So the justice system is going to play out. But as for DOJ, I can't comment on what we believe is the right resolution or anything we may or may not be doing.
And Matt, you reported last week on the settlement of a civil lawsuit involving the electors.
Patrick, the electors agreed to not engage in similar behavior in the future or act as electors in 2024 or when Trump is on the ballot, and acknowledged that Joe Biden in 2020 won Wisconsin.
Matt Smith reporting live in the newsroom tonight.